Hello and welcome to our podcast, Jenny with Mandra. I'm your host. I'm a story creator and co-writer, and here with me is
Alexander Mandrajiv. Hello, everybody.
he's a cinematic illustrator. So our goal for this podcast is to reach out and connect with other artists and storytellers who simply love stories. So, Alexander, let's talk about your life update.
Life update. There's been a lot of things that have happened, and it's just been a lot of time spending doing other things that aren't so much related with illustration. However, I have been keeping up with my skill sets, for example, and learning new tools. I got a brand new computer,
Oh,
a,
yay.
a PC computer. It's a work machine. It does heavy lifting, and I've been sort of exploring the possibilities with that for the past few. I don't know how long I've had this now. It's been really good because I'm also learning new art tools on it. That's been exciting. I've been learning 3D programs.
You've been very in an addictive mode with 3D.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah,
you've been spending a lot of your time on.
right. Learning that tool. Part of learning a new tool is also facing the realization with having to take breaks. I think I'm sort
Which
of
you
getting better
fail.
with. I fail a lot, but I have improved a little bit. I think, but I don't know. You
Yeah.
tell
Workaholics don't deserve breaks. Just kidding.
me. Jesus. What about yourself?
Me, my life has been more of a big physical change, which is affecting me emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
Like I got just really super
Right.
sick. I got so swollen, inflamed, and I just felt super burnt out. So I've been dealing with that and trying to heal myself, treat myself holistically, but I'm doing better. I'm of course able to do some tasks now and
I'm very happy that you're also improving and doing better for yourself. And yeah, I've noticed you've been getting a lot of like organic intake, so to speak. Like you said, holistic, but also on top of that, you're treating yourself to like pure health. The only thing that's missing is like that nice brisk mountain air, which we're probably going to be getting soon. But
yeah.
but yeah, right now it's just we can't just go out and enjoy cool air. I've been revisiting old movies for my reference with my 3D stuff, just because I I I've been re-obsessed, if that's possible, with film, like the look of celluloid film and the sound of it. Revisiting some old classics by some of my favorite directors. Obviously, I went through some Martin Scorsese films, Goodfellas and Mean Streets and Taxi Driver, because they have a nice textural quality to them. And then I remember watching some Ridley Scott films. I took, you know, I breezed through. I've seen Blade Runner so many times. I just sort of watched it without audio, just for the visuals. And I discovered new films that I haven't seen yet. I've heard about new films that I haven't gotten to watch yet, simply because they're hard to find and they're not streaming anywhere. But they're like these crazy indie films. One of them,
What's the
one of them
title?
is called 39 Palms or something like that. I don't know. I have to look up the title. Some of it is also foreign film, but some of it was Andrei Tarkovsky's movies. I revisited Stalker and I revisited Mirror and Nostalgia, and those are trippy, trippy films. Very, very
Trippy.
trippy films. That's all I have to say. I don't want to analyze them or get too deep into talking about it because that would be like 5 episodes of talking about the films. Yeah, that's just been sort of an inspiration for me to go through that, and also some TV series that we watched together. I really enjoyed. watching Barry with you and continuing Succession. Barry is one of those shows that doesn't come around as often. It's one of those like rare gems that pops up and you're like and you'll remember it for a while. And what's crazy about it is it packs so much emotion and interesting story, and it's just each episode is just what 20-30 minutes long. There, it's a mini. It's considered a mini series, I think, and it feels so complete. You don't feel like, oh, I wish there was more. Like every episode feels complete, let alone the entire show feels complete.
And you really feel for the characters, and when you end the episode, it's memorable. It sticks with you, especially the girl, the way she shows her feelings and emotion. Even though she was tough at times, she was still you could still see very clearly how vulnerable she is, how unhappy she is with her
Yeah,
life.
yeah,
And then her stages of her life changes, and even though she shows a different character, you still know that she's in that sad state because it's like something was taken from her. It feels like the writers invested so much feelings towards her character.
right.
White Lotus, oh my god, it's so good. You know, there's people that don't like White Lotus, that it's not their cup of tea.
I could
And
see that. Apparently, it gets even better. It's season two, right?
I don't know, I haven't watched it.
And people actually compare it to also they compare it to Euphoria. I actually started to like that. That's a show we didn't continue.
Yeah, I can't see the comparison. It feels so different.
Yeah, I mean
Uh,
neither can I really.
White Lotus, so many interesting characters that makes you really curious to follow them. It starts with all the characters. You see them in the boat and they're all there. And it's such a great way how they introduce each one.
Yeah,
Well, actually, the very, very first scene is that the guy, right? The guy was sitting in the airport and
right
being
there at the
asked
terminal.
questions, and
Mm-hmm.
you see like a coffin. So that coffin will reappear. A question of, oh, what happened in
The
that?
resort.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
resort.
yeah,
What
yeah, yeah.
happened? Who's in that coffin? Or where's his wife? You know what happened in the event that they were celebrating?
Right.
A lot of question rises that makes you want to watch the show.
I actually was thinking, I bet there's nobody in the coffin because it's something felt like for some reason something felt like this is a heist. But I was so wrong. I'm not gonna spoil it, but yeah, I was like, oh, I bet there's nobody in the coffin.
Well, they caught me.
Or
I thought whatever they want me to think, so they got me. Anyway, so then it cuts to the boat where they introduce every single characters in the show. The two women's point of view. You know, they put a point of view on who they're looking at, and then they mention their assumptions. Oh, I bet she's this, giving a backstory. I actually do that in my head.
that's right, we
Yeah,
actually
things.
do that.
Yeah, things
It,
like that.
it's not so much about like we're not really judging people, but it's interesting to to come up with stories based
How they
on
look.
how people look, yeah, or
Yeah.
carry themselves. Yeah,
That's what
that's
that's
cool.
what they're doing, but at the same time they're giving us an introduction to the characters, and they're showing their body movements or gestures. Then they show that guy related to the coffin,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
he looked so happy that it's a big like juxtaposition, like big contrast of the first one. He was really sad, upset, disappointed, and then you show them in the boat. He's like way different,
very
very
different.
happy, very romantic, and probably very like a jerk. I don't know. But he was happy and he was in love.
That's right. Yeah.
And then they do another pass of each characters when they finally reach the island. The hosts of the hotel or the resort, you know, they're waving. So it pans to each character. Those are the other characters that they're gonna be meeting up with. And then when they come out of the boat, they say their names. Oh, Mrs. So and so, welcome. And then they have a chance to interact, and you could see in that moment how their personalities are. You could tell, oh, okay, so this person is this person is that. So it's
Yeah.
just interesting how they introduce characters in this show because you already given like a set point, like a starting point. This person is a good person, and then you will find out how their journey, you know, changes and what
Y-
becomes of them. And it's so fun. It's like a fun
Yeah.
ride to watch on
Yeah.
how they became who they became at the end.
Oh, I agree. You know what else sticks with me from The White Lotus is how in the exposition part or in the opening, in the beginning, I guess. The writing has a lot of really good restraint in not really spoiling or revealing what the show is going to be about. Like what you were saying, it sets us up in the airport and we start to ask questions. So it's immediately sort of this tone of like, oh, there's somebody that has died. Is this about murder? It, I obviously somebody is dead. Did they get killed, or was it an accident? Or that's what was going through my head. So now when the episode starts playing through, the first few don't really give you too much, but they really show off the characters nicely, but the tone of the show is still kind of hidden. And that alone, I think, in my opinion, sets up a really nice mood texture to the overall feel of being there with them on the on that resort island. It's a uh very unique feeling that the show carries, because I'm not going to spoil it again, but when it actually ends up becoming what the show is about, it's totally what I was not expecting, which is great because it carries that power that it sets me up for. It's not so much that I was lied to or fooled. It's not something like that, but it's that mood. Because of that mood is very strong for me. The experience of watching the show is pretty powerful, and because of that, I'm excited to watch season 2 with you. Yeah,
Yeah, the
it's a great
ending
show.
is totally opposite.
Yeah, yeah,
And very unexpected, and I mean they kind of show you that something bad is going to happen. The coffin symbolizes death. So someone's going to die. But when it happens, it's still very unexpected.
yeah, yeah. I guess what I'm also trying to say is, to me, it didn't feel like that's what the show was all about. It's not like, and here's the big twist, everybody. This is what happened. Like when the actual reveal happens, it's just something that happens that is
Like a
heavy,
reminder of
heavy. Yeah, yeah,
what you saw in the beginning. But
right.
yeah, it's more about it's a very character driven. That's why
Yes,
it's like you get soaked with the character's journey, as I said,
yes,
that
yeah,
you
yeah,
want to have fun seeing their transformation or whatever they're going through. And and then by the time that it's almost in the end or few episodes, like I kind of remember, and there's certain parts like, oh, I just remembered in the beginning there was the
right.
coffin.
A
Now
lot of
now
callbacks.
that there's so
Yeah.
many problems going on,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
who
That's right. Yeah. It's
yeah,
pretty
it
cool. It's
makes
done
you
very
get nervous. And yeah, I
yeah.
feel like it's done well. I really like it. I mean, it's so much there's so much flavor, and there's so much like discoveries. And I also watched an old movie from 1978 called Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which
Oh
you
yeah.
watched, right? Oh no, you
Yeah.
haven't watched.
Well, Body Snatchers is the one I haven't watched, but Invasion of the Body Snatchers
Oh,
I have.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. I really, really like that movie. I
Body
haven't
Snatchers.
watched it. Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Oh, oh, okay.
I can't believe it was 1978 when it came out.
Wait, which one? Which one? Body
Invasion of the
Snatchers
Body
or
Snatchers.
Invasion? Oh, okay, okay. I
Yeah,
thought it
the
was.
one you watched.
Oh, Body Snatchers is 93. That's right. Never
Yeah,
mind. Yeah, Invasion of Body Snatchers. Yeah, yeah.
1978. Yeah, I can't believe it was made during that time. It feels like it's made now. I mean, I know the special effects is different, but the story, I mean, no different than now. I mean, it's
It's great.
it's not like the other old movies.
It was definitely ahead of its time, if that's what you're trying to get at. I think it was ahead of its time.
When I watched it again to review, kind of like study it, do my film analysis, I actually didn't see it, but since the beginning, the main character, the male Matthew, was actually really, really in love with the woman, the second main character, which is Elizabeth.
Oh,
Since the
that's right.
beginning,
Yeah. Yeah.
there was already like signs, and I didn't notice it
That's
until I
right.
went
Oh my
back
God, that's a very good point.
and pause. And when I pause it, and then I see the screen, him holding the hand of the girl. There's that moment, and how come that didn't click in my head that he like, because she already has a husband.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it is there is definitely a clear like
He was very in love
charge
with her
between yeah, he was. You're
because
so right.
yeah, I mean he's trying to always comfort her, like cooked for her, but I mean it didn't feel like he liked her because he didn't want to believe her. You're seeing things wrong. Oh, let me bring you to my psychiatrist friend. And it sounds like, oh, you're gonna bring me to a psychiatrist like I'm crazy. Sounds like a demeaning thing, but really he's doing that because he really cares for her. And by her seeing the psychiatrist, he could finally cancel out the man that's in her life so that it's justifiable for him to be with her because the
Whoa.
psychiatrist is saying that, oh, you don't need him because he's the one at fault that's cheating on you or whatever the mistake is. And that's now his chance to go
I
in the life. And
never realized that.
I know I
That's a,
didn't realize that until
holy
I
moly,
watched it
that's a
again.
really cool connection. What the hell?
And that's why at the end it's so sad when I mean it was already sad when I watched it when something happened to Elizabeth.
Right.
But when I watched again and I saw the end, it was even more sad because I know now that he really wanted to be with her since the beginning.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God. I need to watch that. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, they didn't put a lot of emphasis on it,
But it's there. It's
but
there.
it's there,
Like
yeah.
I remember it now. It really is there. That feeling, that character um um writing is definitely there. It's that is so cool. I got to watch it again. I don't I
So
never
it's kind of
realized that.
like a love story, but in a in an invasion
Yeah.
apocalypse. Is it apocalyptic? No.
Yeah, I mean it is in a sense it is.
Apocalyptic. Is it
Apocalyptic.
apocalyptic?
Apocalyptic? Um no, I definitely think it's apocalyptic and it's a very heartbreaking. Especially now that you're mentioning that I'm like holy moly. I want to watch this again to feel that heartbreak. Yeah, just cuz that feels like so it would be so powerful. That's crazy. Wow.
Because I was figuring out what his goal is, and it clearly is to save her. And that's when it hit me like, oh my gosh, he loves her.
It's funny. Like that probably is in a lot of horror sci-fi apocalypse films and it's done so heavy-handedly. And if only they let it be in the backdrop as it seems like that's how it is
Well, it's
in
usually because they're really related. They're related. Like Rick is
Rick.
looking for his
Yeah.
wife and his
Yeah.
son.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're already related. But this one, he lives alone. You didn't, and he was trying to avoid her and saying like you're getting things wrong. Things that's kind of opposite to what she is
Right.
trying to tell him, and he's kind of refusing to believe, which is not something someone that's in love would do. But then, but then you find out he has his reasons why he's saying what he's saying, and you're
Yeah.
just misunderstanding it.
Do you do you remember the movie 28 Days Later?
Yeah,
You know Cillian Murphy's character and the woman, the supporting act. Oh man, I keep forgetting her. She's a tough one with the machete. Um, they that's also a film where like you really can't tell if they're gonna fall in love or if there's gonna be a charge between them because there's sort of like this on edge, uh, hard uh brutality to their characters of like, yeah, there's no time for us to mess around here. We have to survive every day. And that's just a different example. It's not the same as Invasion of Body Snatchers, but it just occurred to me that that film, like, I want to rewatch that as well later after
that
Body
one
Snatchers.
seems to be more like he everybody wants to survive.
Everyone, but
In
then,
28 Days Later, well,
oh, that's true.
in
Yeah, that's
Invasion
true.
of Body Snatcher,
You're right. You're right.
I think all he's thinking of is the girl. When the
Yeah, yeah,
girl,
yeah, yeah.
when
That's
something
his
happened,
story.
yeah,
That's his mind. Before hell breaks loose,
he was already,
all he's thinking
yeah,
about is
is her,
actually her. That's
yeah.
such a cool point. Holy moly.
And
I gotta
that's
watch
why
that.
at the end I feel like he just lost hope and just gave in. He has no other point of staying.
I think if you're getting that feeling initially, it probably is what it, that is. If this is not making sense, watch Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
I also watched a documentary, Hearts of Darkness, a filmmaker's
Oh,
apocalypse, which
I
is
have not
on
watched that.
YouTube. Right?
That's
It's
right.
on YouTube.
Yeah,
It's free on YouTube.
it is free on YouTube.
It's following Francis
Yeah,
Ford Coppola when he made the movie
Apocalypse Now. Yeah.
Apocalypse Now. In the past, you go through all these weather and environment changes and problems when you're directing. There's so many like things you have to deal with, and I wonder if that's the same now. Still the same, that there's just so many things that could go wrong even though you planned it so many times,
Hmm.
and you really have to love and be so passionate to be a director to you know go through all of that. And I can't believe when I'm thinking of this, because they do it all in a different country, like they were actually shooting it in the Philippines.
Yeah.
So there's like a lot of mosquitoes, and it's so humid there, it's so hot,
Right. Yeah.
and the living situations isn't great. I don't know how directors do it. And
Oh
thinking
man.
about a female director like Chloe Zhao doing all these things that she has to manage, they really have a big passion,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
because they just continue doing what they're doing even though they face so many problems. They're just ready for it, I guess.
That's
Yeah.
what it means to be a filmmaker, in my opinion. It is definitely not easy. But I get that sense also after watching the making of The Godfather or any of Werner Herzog's films or Ridley Scott, like the early films. How the hell did they do that? But they hire great talent to help them. I One thing I do know, I mean, it's from what you told me as well.
A pack, a
Apocalypse
pack,
Now,
a pack.
Apocalypse Now was yeah, it was self-funded, which is also crazy.
Yeah,
Like he
because he
did that.
wants the control. He
Yeah,
doesn't want his,
full control.
vision to get ruined. So
Right,
that's the only way.
right.
All right, now it's time for our next segment. What's in the box?
What's in the
What's
box?
in the box?
What's in the box? Come on, tell me. What's in the box?
What's in the box?
What's in the goddamn box?
All right, so do you know anything that's in the box? Anything you learned? Any cool things you've seen, experienced? Any events, highlights?
Events
What's in
and
the
highlights.
box?
What's in the box? Well, I've been learning Blender Modeling in Blender. 3D is amazing.
Yeah, so
Blender
let's
is
talk
awesome.
about your new passion, rain or shine. You are going to pursue your passion in 3D. So,
Well, the
what do
thing
you
is,
think?
the cool thing is this: it's very close to painting for me. It's not so much of an alien language, it's just learning the tools and how to use them, but producing the shots and the images, it's very much like painting, uh, just in a different execution, in a different way. And that's why it's addicting. It's because it adds a new layer of bringing my personal visuals and ideas and putting them into actual scenes. I'm actually animating 24 frames per second, the illusion of motion. I'm creating little shorts, little micro shorts, and it's that is just so fun. I think it's a great way also to convey concepts, ideas. It doesn't only have to be through still paintings, um, and it's exciting. It's exciting how much you can do, and I've barely scratched the surface. I've I've barely seen what is capable in Blender. And mind you, I started with Unreal, and I stopped using Unreal, and I started using Blender. And for those of you who might not know what Unreal or Blender is, it's a 3D program, and it's a software that you would install on your computer, and like Photoshop, but it allows you to uh, work in a three-dimensional space, move around your design, move around your set, and light it, and add a camera. And yeah, Blender's incredible. I'm still learning it, so I can't really give professional, experienced veteran. It's a very intuitive program, so a lot of my knowledge that I already know from my life of doing art, paintings, and drawings very easily applies to this. So there is that. It carries over smoothly. And
So, what do you think is that one precious thing you learned that helped you level up in your game in storytelling?
a good question. Great question. The other thing that I started to learn, and it was actually you teaching me and showing me, and because I've seen you use it in the past many times, is DaVinci Resolve. To get to the chase, it's editing. And that's a very important thing to up my game in storytelling. And in DaVinci Resolve, you can color correctly. I've never actually edited a sequence of my compositions or shorts together to tell a story, to tell a mood. And now I'm starting to learn how to do it with for my sensibility, for what I want to see when I create my shots. It's very different from creating a still image. So, like, I could fantasize about how this still image of a painting that I had made would play out in a movie. But once you start making it in Blender and or shooting it in real life and mixing both footage, Blender and real footage, and when you start editing it and using DaVinci Resolve and color correcting it, uh, you end up meeting new challenges and discovering how much you actually know about how to tell story. That's the beautiful thing. I think that's what I've, as you put it, one of the precious gems that I've learned from this. And it's actually, I just wanted to say, it is thanks to you. That portion is greatly thanks to you, because before that, I wasn't really doing it much. Maybe I was lazy. I was using, Premiere and or other editing programs, and they're all great as well. They're very cool stuff. But DaVinci alone doesn't make me a good editor, but you have. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but you actually know a lot about how to edit, let alone create story. And it's helped me a lot watching you, and it's also helped me put it to practice now that I'm also using it. Thanks to my awesome computer as well. So I wouldn't be able to do it if it was on the Apple that I used to have. So I'm also happy about that. But yeah, I
Well,
wondered
thank you
if
so much
yeah.
of that nice compliment. The way you do your 3D shorts, it does look very cinematic and feels real, but it's made out of digital. Is that the way
it's
you
it's
say?
actually not a real physical
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, it's a digital. Yeah.
So, bravo. It's very
Bravo.
standing ovation.
No, no,
Chef's
it's not a
kiss.
standing ovation. Oh, come on. Oh,
But I mean,
well,
it is
thank you.
really cool to see and watch you create. I mean, it's in your YouTube channel. It's really cool that you're doing that, and it looks just like your paintings, the mood and feel of it, and it has that also creepy element, and it's different, so it's
Uh-huh.
unique.
Oh, thank you, sweetie.
Okay, our segment questions from you guys. Are you ready?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. First question from Richard Sigamani. His question is: your new short films are amazing. Please tell us what made you do it and how are you approaching the process?
Oh, well, thank you very much. I'm again, as I mentioned before, I'm still learning. But what made me do it is actually a lot of things. Now that I think about it, a lot of things that sort of all met in one point eventually, and it just finally got me off my butt to do it because I've always been fantasizing about making short films and saying it and not getting to it and putting it off. Well, one thing led to another. The whole idea of artificial intelligence being used, and one thought went through my head is like, and this is so petty. This is so silly. You should never, in my opinion, try not to use the reason why you're doing something new and creative and exciting because of insecurity or fear or something negative.
But
But
you can.
but you can if you want. You're free to do. You guys are free to do whatever you want. But what I wanted to get to is the idea of artificial intelligence being used to train people's art and the whole talk about value and our paintings valuable or whatnot. Anyway, that's behind me in my mind now, and I don't think it's the way I was thinking about it originally. I'm not going to get into that discussion, but that was a trigger for me to be like, this is a good opportunity to upgrade and start making moving images, and it actually started with um, animating my paintings and my frames in Premiere and After Effects, and that pushed me to want to learn 3D Blender. Un- like I said, it started with Unreal, and Unreal is a lot less intuitive. And then I got into Blender.
So, how are you approaching the process?
The process is actually, I think, it's different for everybody else, but it's it's quite organic. I try not to force ideas. I try to fish for them and sort of let them appear truthfully and have them feel as powerful and as real as they could be to me. Um, so ways that I do that is I write down ideas that, oh, that would be a cool short to do. That moment could actually look beautiful. Writing down dreams I have, and making music. Sometimes making a very quick track, a very short track, very simple, could inspire visuals, and those visuals could chain react into ideas, and then I try to make those ideas happen in Blender, and also watching it has revitalized watching old movies as we were talking in the beginning, and also watching other great directors and masters and cinematographers and editors and writers and their process. That it has truly like made me more ignorant, less ignorant. I mean to say, not
You're
I'm not
more
more
ignorant.
ignorant, but like, more open minded to back to that area because I feel like I had neglected it maybe, and because of that, I it
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 made you more
it made
ignorant.
me also pay attention even more to what you're paying attention to because you've always been into like story and listening to writers and and I
And
have
videos.
that love for that as well, but it's also now it's even more sharper because it helps with producing ideas. um so yeah, I mean that's part of how I get into it and create stuff.
Okay. So, second question from Obelisk 8. What kind of daily or weekly drawing, painting exercises do you do?
Oh, that's an interesting question. That's um you know, I draw in my sketchbook and I draw people. I draw heads a lot of the time. And when, let's say, when you and I go out, we draw people or I draw from imagination. But it's been in my sketchbook a lot. And in terms of painting, it's painting exercises. I do little thumbnails and studies for shot ideas that I want to make in Blender. That's kind of my exercises currently, and they're very loose, very tiny thumbnails, more like color keys, and it's still the possibility to make them into full fleshed out paintings is still there, but it's more for me like to experience the color and composition uh, quickly, and I use Photoshop and to paint that in, and yeah, that's kind of my exercise. I don't do like hundreds or whatever of them. I probably explore 2 to 3 frames, and then I get to it.
Next question. Animated Paint asks, can you talk about making films in a Blender and how it affected your views working with 3D?
Um, yeah, sure, I could talk about that. I used to have not a negative outlook on 3D, but I didn't have an opinion, and I always would tell myself, yeah, I don't know how to use 3D, and I don't think I'm ever gonna learn to. I don't think I need it. I used to think like that, and it wasn't so much the necessity to learn 3D, but it was the necessity to want to make short movies that led me to 3D. But that's not your question. The question is um, the outlook on using 3D program, right? Um, is well, it's definitely changed now, and I have a lot more of an open mind to new tools. Interestingly enough, it's hasn't just been about 3D; it has been about other programs as well, because it doesn't just end at the 3D program. Once I create something in Blender, I take it into the next thing and I mess with it. And I also accompany it with audio, sound design, and a score that I create in other programs. And so, like, it's if anything, it has opened my mind to the spectrum, and it has taught me how little I know about filmmaking and making movies. And at the same time, it has taught me what what I actually do know, like how much I know in both ways, right? So that's been exciting. It's all a positive feeling and experience. I don't I feel down or trapped or I didn't feel trapped before or I definitely had moments where I was like, man, what was I doing with my time? But that's like an initial excited thing when I first started using it. But now it become more and more a regular thing, but not to say that it's I'm neglecting it or being lazy. I'm still just as thrilled and excited as I was when I first made a breakthrough with my paintings and my art, when I started to grow with my art, when I started to discover that, well, my passion is truly about making cinematic paintings and creating emotional content through that. And I would paint and paint constantly and watch movies and paint. And now it's the same thing all over again. I'm like, now I'm making short movies. And the challenge now is getting to the place of telling short stories or even longer stories through making it in Blender to the same depth that I was bringing my personal work to. Because I'm, obviously because I'm still learning, I kind of create simplistic goals because I know my personal limitations, but I'm starting to realize my personal limitations are not because of how little I know, but it's going to sound silly, but it's because I am being kind of like, yeah, that might be too difficult. I'm not going to go there yet. Which, if I was to give advice, don't do that. Just start doing it, even if it's difficult, which is what I've been starting to do. And I clash with problems and I figure it out and I look up YouTube videos and I ask my friends and I get through it and then I make it. But yeah, I wonder if that answered the questions. I might have trailed off.
But then you didn't, I don't think you answered how it affected your views working with 3D. How did it affect your views working?
Well,
Did you
uh,
answer that, you think?
yeah, I think I did. I mentioned it in the beginning, where I was like not, I was sort of indifferent or not really caring much about 3D, and it wasn't like in a resentful way, but more like, yeah, I don't think I'll ever do it. I don't need it. It's kind of a cocky attitude now that I think about it. It's like, I don't need 3D. Why would I use 3D when I can just paint things? Like I'm a great painting master or something. And that's not the case. There's so much potential in learning 3D and learning more tools that help you make art, be it still images or moving images. Uh, Learn any program that helps you make your vision come to life. In my opinion, that's my outlook. That's my point of view. That I got out of learning 3D. I'm like, wow, I have been still in corners of my mind, still immature with my artistic journey. I still was sort of like, yeah, that's not necessary. Like, what the hell do I know? I still always create, always push yourself to create uh, in different ways. You know, that's what I got out of it. Anyway,
Yeah. Okay. Next question. Jacob Keho underscore art. Would you ever make your own course? I would definitely take it.
oh, that's an interesting idea. I maybe yeah. I think I would make my own course. I haven't really given it too deep of a thought, but I'd like to. I think also it's kind of a good time to start thinking about that.
Let's just go two more and then we could
Okay.
stop.
Okay.
So, from Alex underscore Outwood. Hey Alex, I'm curious how you approach Blender learning for your recent work.
Blender learning, how I'm learning Blender. Um, well, I
I
ask
guess like the
friends.
steps, no, like,
Oh, steps.
yeah,
Oh man.
I guess.
I that okay.
You make
Here's an honest answer to
the
that.
skeleton and then you paint on it.
What's that?
Do you make the skeleton and then you paint on it?
I mean, well, you could say there's there's one, yeah, that could be a way to look at it, but here's, in my opinion, and I hope this isn't too of an abstract answer, but I I am not following a strict blueprint guideline on using Blender. I was helped to set up the program properly and figure out like the basics and the technical aspects of using it in rendering and shortcut keys of using the tool. But actually, I'm just directly clashing with whatever I can come up with or whatever I can figure out. I'm That's how I'm doing. I'm learning Blender same way I learned Photoshop. And when I first learned Photoshop, I had no idea what I was doing, and I was just opening stuff and testing stuff out, and then it would strike my curiosity, and then I would look it up or ask friends like, hey, what do you do here? Oh, I just figured out that you could do that. I'm watching, wait, how do you? And would ask my friends, or I'd look up a video. um and it has introduced me to other elements like downloading add-ons for Blender and downloading scans, photogrammetry of environments or people, and then using that and creating scenes and um, starting, that's kind of like making me think about it as sets, virtual sets, and you're thinking about the characters and the people you download that I animate by hand in Blender, like my actors and the lighting, and you sort of start to think outside of the box about everybody's role on an actual film set. You know what happens, and you think about it lightly, of course, because you can't compare an on-set process. It's way different and way more dynamic and complex and harder than it is to create a Blender short. But the difficult thing about creating Blender shorts is having an idea, a compelling idea that excites you, that you want to see, and also um, having the feeling, that comes with the idea. How do you know exactly how to execute it, what you're looking for? Because in my opinion, and I'll end this question with this: is if you could know the tool really well, but if you don't have anything to make with the tool, what's the point of knowing the tool? Like if I could paint really well, but I have nothing to say with my painting skills. It's just kind of the same idea. Like if I have nothing to say, oh, this guy is a great painter. What does he paint? You know, nothing.
Like fart. What does he paint?
he paints. He paints.
He paints.
Paints a bunch of. Uh, but yeah, I know that I trailed off a little bit, but I think that is my Blender journey.
Okay, so next question from YNNCKSTLHL.
Okay,
I don't know how to say
one
that.
of those names. Yeah.
In today's concept art world, how do I find my own artistic voice?
Whoa, that's a very powerful question. How do you find your own artistic voice? Right off the bat, I could tell you find it by being yourself, and you do whatever it takes to be you with your art. Whatever it takes, no matter what the circumstances are, no matter what they're telling you and how you should be and what, oh, don't paint that, paint this. You should be yourself. You know, I listened to a I listened to a interview of a writer talking about how he was writing, how he learned writing. I forgot the name, but it was this is on a YouTube clip for screenwriting, and he said, "Oh, part of the process is, I write, and we sit in the writers' room to try to figure out the character in the scene. I write, and you know, one thing I'll tell my advice to students is get it out, because the first idea is always going to be wrong, and then you'll start to flesh it out better. Oh, and also you get it out, you have your idea, take the advice, but then don't listen to the advice on how to make better, because usually the advice on how to make it better is always wrong as well. So like, let's say, oh, this part actually, I don't feel like their feedback to the writers were, oh, this part is, I don't feel scared for the character. Okay, that's good advice. They're probably right. But then they go, I think what would make it work to make it scare the character is if you added the color red all over the place. They're wrong. Like, or if you describe this all over the place, XYZ, they're wrong. Just shut them off. This was this writer's advice on learning to figuring it out yourself. So like, in the same sense, in my opinion, to find your voice, you have to sort of clash with the life and the nature of your art, because that is a thing. I think that the art and the painting and whatever you want to do, the world that you are in, the universe, you're a universe because you're experiencing your life through your point of view. I don't see your life the same way you see your life. So the way you're experiencing it, use that, and use that to create art as honestly as possible. I think that's inherently your voice. It's not so much about finding your voice, it's about
Encourage
just being you, because you always have a voice.
not being afraid,
Not being afraid.
yeah,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
to take that risk of
And
following
you,
your gut instinct.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. um and what ends up happening, in my opinion, is you end up discovering your strengths and weaknesses in the process, and you start leaning more on your strengths, and then you iron out your weaknesses, and you get better and better, and your voice is just there. But you gotta be honest with what you're doing. You just gotta, in whichever way possible, mood, tone, whatever, but honesty is important. Don't make art because of other people's thing, you know opinion on you, or how other clients think you should be making art so you can get to that job. I know that's hard to say because there's people that are really probably struggling to even get a job. But in my opinion, is if you find yourself honestly with your art, not the voice, but if you make that fearless breakthrough, as you said, that job is going to find you. You will find that place in this gigantic industry of where you can actually use your skills. Maybe it's easier said than done, but honestly, it'll come to you in one way or another eventually. Making honest art came to me when I was just about to give up on my art. Like, I was starting to feel like I I suck. And then something came over, and it's a detail that I don't want to describe, but it angered me. Something happened. That's It's a bit too personal, and it involves talking about another person that not a family member. It was somebody else that I knew in my life that upset me, and I ended up saying, getting to a point saying, you know what, screw all this shit. I'm just gonna do what I want to do. Screw all this shit. And I started to watch movies, and I started to tap into the things I actually know or love or aspire to know more of, which was movies. And then I was like, why don't I make paintings that feel like moments paused in time, like scenes? Yeah, like scenes. Like I'm talking to myself in my head like that. And then I started making work that helped me blow up in life in a way, and helped me make leaps and get a lot of actual jobs. So that's my long and hopefully not pretentious answer, but yeah. And yeah, you have the same very similar experience, Jenny, with your work. Oh, I know you don't paint, but like it's the same thing. I think watching you and how you grew and changed and clashed with the struggles that you went through, and you're you were almost like you had it in you for such a long time, but it was oppressed. I know that sounds so dark, but like you had to warm up the volcano, and then you just started to produce and create. But it was dormant for such a long time because of other things that you had to do in your life. It's interesting also because I mean, just keep in mind that this isn't a blueprint to how to find it, but it's just things, that we've experienced. You'll have your own way of coming to that realization. Yeah.
When I think of a voice, artistic voice, I feel like it's uniquely yours, so no one else has it. It's just you. So you're different. So if you feel different, you shouldn't feel
That's right.
bad
That's
about
very
it cuz
important. Yeah, that's probably what it is. And it's honestly, you should test the direction that you feel afraid of exposing in your art. You might feel so right about it. I want to make a painting about XYZ, but it's I don't feel what if people judge me because I painted about this subject matter or I made this painting about that? Well, if the fear is not to make the painting because other people will judge you on social media, you're silencing yourself. What's the point in your having your voice then? You should express through your art exactly what it is you want to talk about, what you want to express about, and you just keep going at it. Never mind what other people might think of you. Social media is a toxic world, and social media is also it's nothing. It doesn't mean anything. But what means is you creating art. And we don't create art for social media. Remember that. Because it one way or another it it ends up on there because you want to share it, and it's very understandable that we should share it with the world, and we want to be seen and noticed with our art. Every filmmaker shares that. They might make their movies for themselves, but they want to share it with other people. um, but it's the other people are invited. Same way with you. It's you you want to make the art you want to make. The audience is invited. If you don't like it, you don't have to look at my art ever again. You're free to wander elsewhere online on the internet or whatever, or if it's physical, I guess galleries. Or but that my point is, eventually you get there. Eventually you will clash with social media opinions and what's the thing, and oh, but he or she painted an image of a person doing something controversial, and it's I don't know what that says about the artist. Who cares? What that says about the artist is that they had a freedom of choice and a voice to express, and that's what it means. Is they had the courage and they had the
The balls.
the mind and the balls to do that. That's what an artist is, to explore fearlessly into a world that we're reflecting life. So what happens when you silence that? You're not reflecting anything but fear. That's what you're reflecting. When you're not feeling your painting and you're putting it up because trend, you're actually putting a painting that reflects society's oppression and fear,
Putting
in
a
my opinion.
painting pressure, all the P's.
All the P's.
You must be
P, the
spitting
letter
a
P,
lot in your
oppression,
mic.
popcorn,
Your mic must
pineapple,
be filled with spit.
so much spit.
Being so passionate about.
Oh, I used to have we used to have a teacher at Art Center who was teaching art history and also teaching about classical music. And her mouth would start. She was this older lady. Her mouth would start frothing. She'd play classical music, and she'd be like, "Listen to the part that," and all this drool would start coming down.
Really?
Anyway,
Oh no, that's so uncomfortable to watch.
I know.
Anyway, let's wrap it up.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
so
yeah.
late now.
Holy moly, it is.
So thank you, you guys, for sticking through this until the end, hopefully. So, any final words? Not that long, okay.
Okay.
What are
Well, yeah.
your final words?
Well, thank you
Um,
guys. Thank you for watching this. It means a great deal to Jenny and I. It inspires us to do more and more. Yeah, be yourself, guys. We're in a time where it's important to be yourself.
okay, like, follow, and subscribe, and comment down below. Or you could also share. And don't forget to push that notification button so that whenever we have a new one coming out, you'll be notified. Until then, thank you so much and have a good week.
Have a great
Bye.
week. Bye bye.